Full transparency, I'm one of the few people that actually enjoyed the first Suicide Squad movie, and I know that's not a popular opinion. Regardless, this movie blows that one out of the water. Sorry, David Ayer fans. This is just better. The Suicide Squad is a sequel/reboot, as it pretty much ignores everything that happened in that first movie outside of the characters' relationships with each other. If you're unfamiliar, the Suicide Squad is based on comic book characters from the DC universe. More specifically, villains that are in prison that are hired by the government to go on missions that could end badly, or be called suicide missions. There was better reasoning explained in the first movie, something along the lines of, humans weren't prepared when Superman showed up, and what if he hadn't been bad? We've got nobody to protect us. But none of that matters because none of that is addressed in this movie. What is addressed here is a pure entertainment orgasm. That's the best way I can describe it. It is so funny, so entertaining, and it's just a good time at the movies. Yes, it's ridiculously violent and very mature. Well, it's mature content for how immature it is. Thank goodness Logan and Deadpool were so successful. They led to movies like this. The entire cast in this movie are spot on with their roles, and I can't help but think that it all has to do with James Gunn. Let's just take a moment and thank James Gunn for whatever insulting tweet he sent decades ago that led to Disney firing him from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which I assume sort of inevitably led him to go to Warner Brothers and make this movie. If ever there was a blessing in disguise. The humor that James Gunn had in the Guardians of the Galaxy's movies is turned up to 11 here and just fits in this universe so well. It just makes sense. I kind of got the feeling that on some level, James Gunn was maybe giving Disney a huge middle finger when it came to the quality of this movie, because it's just above and beyond. You can tell that he's poured his all into this movie. The quality is just through the roof. That one. I've always been able to enjoy DC movies more than I've been able to enjoy Marvel movies, simply for the fact that when I was growing up, I wasn't a DC Comics fan. So I am insanely unfamiliar with their characters. Outside of some of the staples, sure, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, to a certain extent, I know nothing about characters in that comic book universe. So I know nothing about anybody's backstory. So if stuff goes wrong or gets changed, it doesn't bother me like when Marvel does it to Spider-Man. So I don't know if any of the characters in the Suicide Squad went through a bunch of changes or if there were liberties taken that's upsetting diehard fans, because I have nothing to base it off of. I can just sit back and be entertained with all of this crap James Gunn wants to force into my eyeballs. That sounded negative. I didn't mean it to. I'm just saying, for someone like me that wasn't a fan and has no experience with the comic books, this movie was gold. Almost. There was nothing I didn't enjoy about this movie. I just want to gush about it and talk about it and tell you every single scene, but I also don't want to spoil it because it's super fun. Well, there you go. When I say spoiler stuff, there's one thing that I found negative about this movie, and that's the fact that they put the giant starfish in the trailer. That was completely unnecessary. Whoever cut the trailer for the Suicide Squad that had the giant starfish in it should be fired. But I know that that's not going to happen, and I also know that trailers are going to continue to reveal far too much of any movie. Now, did showing it in the trailer ruin the experience when I saw it in the movie? No. The whole sequence was still awesome, but it would have been that much better if it had been an absolute surprise. Not that many surprises exist these days. I guess I just have to stop watching trailers. Speaking of sequences, there is one in particular that I really liked, and it's Harley's escape from her captors, which again, we all know happens because it's one of the bigger jokes that was shown in the trailer. But the scene itself was super cool and probably one of the best Harley Quinn moments that we've gotten out of all three of these films so far. James Gunn and Harley Quinn were meant to be together. Not in the story, as creator and character. Moving on. Idris Elba as Bloodsport was great. I loved seeing him in this role. I mean, I already knew he was a great actor, so I'm pretty sure he was going to kill it. And again, I've got nothing to base it off of. So all I can say is that watching him in the role in the movie was great. But now I'm always going to wonder, why didn't Will Smith come back as Deadshot? Deadshot and Bloodsport, I think that was his name. I'm going to look it up and be like, no, it was Blood Slinger. I'm pretty sure it's Bloodsport. But Deadshot and Bloodsport are pretty much carbon copies of each other when it comes to characters. There's actually a pretty cool joke about that going on with Peacemaker in the movie. Anyway, just watch the darn movie. So because of the fact that they're so similar, I have to assume that the reason Will Smith didn't come back was more personal than anything else. Now, maybe there's a bunch of information out there that I could find and I could get down to the brass tacks reason why it happened. I don't care that much because Idris Elba, like I said, crushed it. This is a movie that makes no sense, doesn't hold any punches, and always goes for the over-the-top humor at every opportunity, yet still has the decency to have some fleeting scenes that come across pretty darn heartfelt. That being said, Ratcatcher, man. I'm pretty sure she's my new favorite character. She's super cute and her personality was just so endearing. Her backstory was also something that obviously spoke to my softer side. I don't know who played her, but she as well did a great job. When it comes to the rest of the cast in this movie, because there were some big names thrown around, I guess to help advertise the movie, all I will say is don't get too attached to anybody. All bets are off in this movie, and that's part of the absolute enjoyment and the way the entire movie was structured. Like, just if you're a fan of comic book movies, and I guess DC especially, but like I said, I can't really speak to that, no experience, you need to see this movie. Whether you go to the theater or rent it on HBO Max, see it. You're gonna have a good time. The Suicide Squad gets 9 out of 10 from me. It is a perfect summer blockbuster that also just so happens to have a higher level of quality than most other movies like that. The characters are top-notch, the performances are even better, the music is perfect for a James Gunn movie, and the action is spot on. I'm running out of ways to describe to you how much fun this movie just is. Now, if you're opposed to insanely gratuitous violence, which I am not, but I wasn't expecting it in this movie, then no, you probably won't enjoy this movie at all. But with that being said, you're probably not interested in a movie called The Suicide Squad. If they can just figure out a way to make trailers without showing us so much of the movie, everything would be so much better. How about you guys? Have you seen The Suicide Squad yet? If you have, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next one.